The fire started without warning in Sector 9 of the Virene colony. One moment everything was quiet, and the next, alarms screamed across the metal halls. Red lights flashed everywhere as the smell of smoke filled the air. People ran, screaming and pushing. Trying to escape the flames, soldiers yelled, "Evacuate now. Sector 9 is lost." Fathers grabbed their children. Mothers cried as they searched for their loved ones. The ground shook slightly, and sparks fell from the ceiling as if the colony itself was breaking apart. Among the chaos, two small children stood frozen near the entrance gate. A boy and a girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Their faces were covered in ash, and tears streamed down their cheeks. A human soldier named Jack ran past them. Holding a comlink in one hand, he was tall, strong, and brave. But what stopped him was the sound of the girl's voice. She cried out, "Please, mister, help us. Our mom's still inside." Jack turned and looked at them. His training told him to keep moving to save himself and others. But something in the way the girl was shaking made him stop. He knelt beside them. "Where did you last see her?" he asked gently. The boy pointed to the main entrance of the lab zone. Thick black smoke rolled out from under the sealed door, but that wasn't the worst part. In front of the door stood a large shape. Half hidden by smoke and shadows, it was tall, almost 3 meters, and covered in dark, alien scales. Its back was hunched, and its glowing green eyes stared at anyone who came close. A deep growl came from its throat, low and warning like thunder. Jack narrowed his eyes. "What is that?" he whispered. People nearby screamed again. "It's a beast from the lower levels. It escaped." Some tried to shoot at it earlier, but none could get close. Now the alien stood guard like a silent protector, or a dangerous trap. The children pulled at Jack's jacket. "Please, mister. Our mom didn't come out. We waited, but she didn't come." Jack looked between the alien beast and the children. Every second he waited, the fire grew worse. The alien let out another growl as someone came near. The crowd backed away, scared, but strangely, it didn't move from the door. Jack thought for a moment. If the beast wanted to kill, it already had many chances, but it just stood there, blocking the door like a guardian. Not a monster. Jack spoke into his comm. "This is Jack from Fire Team 3. I've got 2 civilians reporting a missing parent inside Sector 9 lab zone. One large unidentified alien is blocking the entrance." The voice on the comm replied fast. "Do not engage. Repeat. Do not engage." "That zone is unstable." He looked down at the children. "What's your mother's name?" The boy whispered. "Dr. Lyra, she works in the lab. She said she'd be back in 5 minutes. Jack froze. Dr. Lyra, the lead scientist working on alien DNA experiments. He had heard her name before, but he didn't expect to meet her kids here. His eyes moved back to the beast. What if the creature wasn't trying to escape? What if it was trying to protect something or someone inside? Smoke thickened and the heat became stronger. Jack stood up. "You two stay here, don't move," he said softly. They nodded, hugging each other tightly. He took a slow step toward the beast, hands raised, weapon lowered. The growl grew louder, but the alien didn't strike. It watched him with deep, glowing eyes, almost like it understood. Jack said in a calm voice, "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to find someone." For a moment, everything felt quiet. Even with the fire roaring behind the door, the beast didn't move aside, but it also didn't attack. Jack stepped back, his heart racing. He had a choice: leave now and let the fire take whatever was left inside, or find another way in, save the children's mother, and maybe learn the truth about the beast. He looked at the children again, their faces full of fear and hope, and he made his decision. He wasn't going to walk away, not this time. He would go inside, even if it meant risking everything. Jack moved through the smoke-filled corridor, the heat behind him rising like a storm. The sound of alarms faded as he entered the silent part of the colony, the zone marked forbidden research access only. His boots echoed against the metal floor. Each step slower than the last, he knew he was breaking orders. But the screams of the 2 children still echoed in his mind. If their mother was alive, he had to find her. He reached a sealed gate, its control panel flickering weakly. The power systems were failing. The flames had damaged half of the circuits. Jack pulled a small hacking chip from his belt and connected it to the door. The gate buzzed, beeped, and then slowly slid open with a sharp hiss of hot air. Behind the gate, the hallway was quiet. Too quiet. The smell was different here, not just smoke and fire, but something like burnt metal mixed with chemical decay. He walked deeper, his flashlight cutting through the haze, and that's when he saw the strange signs on the walls. Symbols, alien markings glowing faintly in green and gold. They pulsed like veins of light. Alive and breathing, Jack muttered to himself. What were they doing here? He remembered rumors about Sector 9. Whispers that this part of the colony was used for alien experiments. But the truth was worse than he imagined. He turned a corner and froze. In front of him were broken glass chambers, 7 of them. Large enough to hold a human inside the shattered tubes. Strange fluids leaked onto the floor. Floating in the thick air were data pads, papers, and test vials still warm from the explosion. One chamber still glowed faintly, and inside it, something moved. Jack raised his weapon slightly. Hello. Is anyone there? He called out. The figure inside pressed its hand against the glass. Weak but alive, it wasn't human. It had silver skin, long limbs, and soft, sad eyes that reflected the flashlight. For a moment it looked almost afraid. Then it pointed toward the far end of the lab. Jack followed the direction, stepping over broken wires and fallen pipes. He saw another door half open marked Containment 7 Biotest Alpha. He pushed it open, and what he saw made his heart pound. Inside, the room was scorched, but on the floor were signs of struggle. Large claw marks on the wall, broken restraints, and drops of dark green blood. He knelt down and touched the floor. It was still warm. That meant something, or someone had escaped recently. Suddenly, his radio crackled. Jack, report. Where are you? He switched it off immediately. He couldn't let command know where he was. They would send a strike team to burn this whole place down, and he didn't want that. Not yet. He reached another door, heavier than the rest. It was sealed with multiple locks and red lights blinking fast. He found a key card on the ground with the name Dr. Lyra printed on it. His eyes widened. This was her card. He swiped it through the reader, and with a deep metallic sound, the door unlocked. The room inside was dim, but it looked different from the others. There were photos of children on the desk, drawings made with crayons. 2 kids smiling beside a woman in a lab coat. Jack whispered, "Her kids." They were right. He searched around quickly and found a recording device blinking on the table. He pressed play. Dr. Lyra's tired voice filled the room. "If this message is found, that means the experiment has escaped. We didn't want to create a weapon, we wanted to protect them. The alien creatures are not all dangerous. They're intelligent, emotional, some even kind." Her voice trembled. "We mixed their DNA with ours to understand empathy, but the colony wanted soldiers, not peace." The recording cut off with a loud crash. Followed by her scream, Jack stood still, his mind spinning. The alien beast outside, the one blocking the door, it wasn't guarding to attack. It was protecting something or someone important to Dr. Lyra. A sudden vibration shook the room. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Jack heard a low growl from somewhere deeper inside the zone. He turned off his light and crouched low. Footsteps echoed, heavy ones, and then he saw it. The alien beast was there, its body covered in burns and scars. It limped through the smoke, carrying something small in its clawed hands. A tiny shape wrapped in a torn cloth. Jack's eyes widened. It was an alien infant. Barely breathing, the beast stopped and looked at him. For a long moment, human and alien stared at each other. Jack didn't move, didn't raise his weapon. He whispered softly, "You're not here to kill." "Are you?" The creature tilted its head slightly, as if understanding. Then it let out a deep, painful growl, not angry but sorrowful. It looked back at the burning lab behind it and then at Jack again. Jack slowly lowered his weapon completely. He realized something shocking. The beast wasn't the monster. The humans were. He took a step forward, hand open. "Let me help," he said quietly. But before he could reach the creature, another explosion tore through the corridor. The beast roared, shielding the infant with its body. Flames burst from the wall, throwing Jack backward when the smoke cleared. The creature was gone. Only footprints and drops of green blood remained. Jack coughed and stood up, his heart still racing. He looked down at the photo of Dr. Lyra's children in his hand. He whispered, "I'll find you. I promise." Outside, the alarm screamed again. The colony had just entered lockdown mode, and Jack realized one terrifying truth. He was now trapped inside the forbidden zone. Flames danced across the metal walls like living creatures. The air burned hot and dry, and every breath felt like swallowing fire. Jack moved slowly through the narrow tunnel he had found behind a fallen vent panel. He was now under the main lab, crawling through a maintenance shaft filled with smoke and heat. The sound of explosions above shook the walls like thunder. He wiped sweat from his eyes and whispered to himself, "Hang on, Dr. Lyra, just hang on." The tunnel was tight, forcing him to crawl on his hands and knees. Each movement made the metal creak, and ash fell from above, but he didn't stop. Because somewhere ahead, faintly through the roaring fire, he heard a weak sound, a voice soft and broken. "Help! Someone." Jack froze for a second. Heart pounding, that voice, it had to be her. He crawled faster, ignoring the heat, until he reached a broken vent grate. He kicked it open and pulled himself out into a destroyed storage room. The place was filled with smoke. Half the ceiling had collapsed, and small fires burned on the walls. But there, near the far corner, he saw movement. A woman in a torn lab coat was pinned under a fallen beam. Her face was pale, her breathing weak, and one arm was bleeding badly. Jack ran to her and knelt down. "Dr. Lyra," he said, coughing. "Your kids sent me." Her eyes opened slowly, surprised. "My kids," she whispered, tears mixing with soot on her cheeks. "Are they alive?" Jack nodded quickly. "Yes, they're safe."
"But we need to move now." He tried to lift the beam, but it was heavy.
He used a steel rod from the floor and pushed with all his strength. Muscles shaking, he finally rolled the beam aside and pulled her free. She gasped in pain, but still tried to stand. "There's something you don't understand," she said between breaths. Jack supported her. "Talk later. We have to go," but then he heard it again. The sound that froze his blood. A low growl, deep and echoing through the metal halls. He turned slowly toward the dark passage behind them. Through the smoke, a pair of glowing green eyes appeared. The alien beast was back. Jack quickly moved in front of Dr. Lyra. Raising his weapon, the creature stepped closer, its claws dragging on the floor, but then something unexpected happened. Dr. Lyra touched Jack's arm weakly. "No, don't shoot," she whispered. Jack looked at her in disbelief. "What do you mean?" "It's the same beast that was guarding the door." She nodded slowly. "Yes, because it's protecting something, not attacking." The beast lowered its head slightly, watching them but not moving forward. It made a soft rumbling sound, almost like a growl mixed with a moan. Then Jack noticed what it was carrying. In its arms was a small bundle wrapped in torn silver cloth. Something inside it moved and made a faint sound. Jack's eyes widened. "Is that a child?" Dr. Lyra nodded slowly. "An alien infant," she whispered. "We were studying its species. They showed signs of empathy, intelligence, even love." Her voice trembled. "The colony wanted to turn them into weapons, but I refused. I tried to save them, but the lab exploded before I could escape." The beast made another low sound. And this time, Dr. Lyra took a slow step forward. Jack wanted to stop her, but she shook her head. "It remembers me," she said softly. She reached out her hand and the creature didn't move. Instead, it slowly uncurled its claws, revealing the small alien child inside. Its skin shimmered faintly like silver glass, its eyes half open, weak but alive. Jack lowered his weapon completely, realizing the truth. The beast wasn't a monster, it was a father. It wasn't blocking the door to keep people out. It was trying to keep the fire from reaching its family. Dr. Lyra took the infant gently in her arms, whispering something in a soft alien tone. The creature let out a sorrowful growl, stepping back as the flames grew louder behind it. Jack watched, speechless. This was no enemy. It was a being with feelings, protecting the only thing it loved. A loud explosion shook the hallway again, and part of the roof collapsed. Jack grabbed Dr. Lyra and pulled her behind cover. The alien beast roared and shielded them both with its massive body, debris bouncing off its back when the dust cleared. It was still standing, but wounded. Deep cuts glowing green across its body. Jack shouted, "We have to move now. This place is falling apart." He helped Dr. Lyra up, but the beast didn't follow. It stayed behind, staring at them, holding its chest as it bled. Dr. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "It's telling us to go," she said softly. Jack hesitated. "We can't just leave it," she shook her head. "If we stay, we all die." Jack looked into the creature's eyes one last time, and for a moment he felt something, respect, connection, sorrow. The beast turned away toward the fire, as if guarding the flames one last time. Jack carried Dr. Lyra toward the exit tunnel. Behind them, the alien's roar echoed through the collapsing lab. It wasn't a roar of anger, it was grief, a cry that carried through the metal halls like thunder. When they finally reached the outer tunnel, Jack looked back one last time through the smoke. He thought he saw the alien kneel beside another fallen figure, an adult alien female. Burned and still, Jack realized the truth. The creature had lost its mate. And now it would die protecting what remained, he whispered softly. You're not the monster they said you were. As he helped Dr. Lyra out into the open air, the lab behind them exploded in a storm of fire and light. A wave of heat rolled over them and then silence. The inferno had ended. But the truth had only just begun to burn. The sky over Virene Colony was thick with dark smoke. Ash floated down like black snow. Silent and heavy, Jack helped Dr. Lyra out of the burning tunnel, both of them coughing and covered in dust. She still held the alien infant wrapped tightly in her arms, its tiny body barely moving. The colony's emergency lights flashed red, and sirens echoed in the distance. They reached a medical station set up near the outer gate. Soldiers ran back and forth, treating the wounded, shouting orders. When they saw Jack and the woman appear from the flames, people froze. But their eyes widened even more when they saw what was in her arms. What is that? One soldier asked. Pointing his gun, Jack stepped in front of them, his voice firm. It's a child, stand down, another soldier shouted. That thing came from the lab, it's one of the aliens, Doctor. Lyra coughed and said weakly, It's not dangerous. It's just a baby, the crowd murmured with fear and confusion. But before more questions could be asked, a loud roar echoed from behind them. Everyone turned and panic spread like fire. Out of the smoky ruins, the alien beast appeared. Its massive body was bleeding, its scales cracked. But its eyes still glowed with fire. Soldiers raised their weapons at once, target in sight. Prepare to fire. Jack raised his arms and shouted, No, stop, don't shoot. But they didn't listen. The beast took one slow step forward. Limping badly, it looked at the child and Doctor. Lyra's arms and let out a low, broken growl. Jack stood between the soldiers and the alien. It's not here to attack, it's trying to reach its child, Doctor. Lyra stepped beside him, tears in her eyes. This creature saved my life, it shielded us from the fire. It didn't harm anyone. The soldiers hesitated, confused by the words, but the order came through the radio. If it approaches the camp, terminate. The alien beast made one last effort, dragging its injured body closer. Its breathing was heavy, labored, but its eyes never left the infant. It stopped just 10 meters away, fell to its knees, and let out a long, sad howl. Then it placed something on the ground, a small, metallic object glowing faintly blue. Dr. Lyra gasped. That's a memory crystal. Jack picked it up, holding it carefully, she explained. They store thoughts, feelings, memories. Like data, but more emotional. Jack turned to the alien and spoke gently. You want us to know your truth, don't you? The beast gave a slow nod, then collapsed forward, breathing weakly. A medical bot scanned the memory crystal and connected it to a screen. What they saw made the entire crowd go silent. Images flashed of an alien family, peaceful and loving, living deep underground before humans came. They showed scientists capturing the father, the same beast now lying on the ground, and bringing him to the lab. Tests, pain, cages, but no violence from the creature. Then came the images of his mate, pregnant. Afraid and also captured. People watched as the images showed Dr. Lyra secretly caring for the pair, feeding them, speaking kindly. Then came the explosion, the chaos, the mother trapped under fire, the father escaping with the infant, desperate to find help. He didn't want revenge, he wanted safety for his child. Jack looked at the soldiers. Does this look like a monster to you? Some lowered their guns. Ashamed, the commander finally arrived. Furious. Why haven't you taken the shot? Jack stood firm. Because he's not the enemy, sir, Dr. Lyra added. We were wrong. We saw them as beasts, but they're more human than we are. The commander looked at the dying alien, then at the memory crystal. His face was hard to read, but he gave a slow nod. Take them to the med bay. As they lifted the beast onto a hover stretcher, the alien let out a soft sound. The infant reached out its tiny hand, touching its father's claw gently. Everyone around fell silent. That small moment, a touch, spoke louder than any speech. Inside the med bay, Dr. Lyra worked quickly. Treating the beast's wounds, Jack stood by the door. Watching over them both, a nurse whispered, You really believe it feels love? Jack nodded. I saw it in his eyes, in the way he shielded us. In the way he gave us that memory crystal. The baby began to cry softly. The beast opened one eye, weak but alive. Dr. Lyra smiled through tears. He's still fighting. For his child. Later that night, as the fire finally died out and the skies cleared, Jack sat near the medbay window staring at the stars. So many questions burned in his mind about the colony, about the alien species, about the lies they'd been told. But one thing was clear, this beast, this father, had shown more humanity than many humans ever did. He looked down at the baby, now resting peacefully in a warmed blanket. Jack whispered softly, "The truth isn't always what we're told." And somewhere behind him, the alien beast gave one soft growl, almost like a thank you. The sun never truly rose on planet Vereen. A pale gray light shimmered above the smoky sky as morning came. Inside the medbay, soft machines beeped around the alien beast. Its body was still resting, but its chest rose and fell, barely alive. Dr. Lyra stood beside the bed, gently checking the baby alien's health. Jack sat nearby, watching the door, his rifle close, though the fighting had stopped. He knew it wasn't over, not yet. The baby cooed softly, gripping Jack's gloved finger with its small silver hand. He smiled just a little. "You've got strength in you, little one." But the peaceful moment was shattered when the medbay door burst open. 6 soldiers stormed in, weapons raised, eyes cold. "Step away from the creature," the commander ordered sharply. Jack stood fast. "He's not a threat. He's injured and unarmed." The soldiers didn't lower their weapons. One of them stepped forward. "Orders from Central Command. Terminate all alien specimens before evacuation, Doctor." Lyra gasped. "That's murder. This one saved lives." Another soldier replied coldly. "We don't care what it did. We care what it is." Jack moved between the beast and the soldiers. Heart pounding, he held his hands up. "You fire that weapon. You'll have to shoot through me." The soldiers hesitated. Unsure, Jack was a decorated soldier, a leader to many. But now, he was protecting what they called a monster. Suddenly, the baby let out a loud cry, sharp and fearful. Its tiny voice echoed in the room like glass breaking, and the alien beast stirred slowly, painfully. It opened its eyes. Then it rose, not fully, but enough to stand on one knee. Growling low, the soldiers raised their weapons again. "It's waking up, take the shot." "Wait," Jack shouted. But the lead soldier didn't wait, he fired. The blast hit the beast in the side, sending it crashing into the med table. The baby screamed, and Dr. Lyra shouted, "No!" The alien beast stood back up. Roaring, not in rage but pain and fear, it charged. Not toward the soldiers, but toward the baby. Shielding it with its huge arms, more shots were fired. Walls sparked, machines exploded. Jack dived forward, tackling one of the soldiers to the ground. "Cease fire," he yelled, but no one listened in the chaos. Something strange happened. The beast didn't fight back. It didn't claw, didn't bite. It simply stood like a wall between the baby and the humans, taking every hit. Jack screamed over the noise. "Look at what it's doing. It's protecting, not attacking, Doctor." Lyra grabbed a med shield and placed it in front of the baby. The beast collapsed again, breathing hard, wounds glowing green. Blood pooled around it, but it didn't move away from the child. Finally, the gunfire stopped. The room fell silent except for the baby's soft whimpering. Smoke hung in the air like a ghost. The commander stepped inside. Eyes scanning the wreckage, he looked at the beast. Still alive, still shielding, then he looked at Jack. Blood on his uniform, anger in his eyes. "You disobeyed a direct order," the commander said coldly. Jack replied, "No. I obeyed something higher. My humanity." The commander raised his weapon slowly, pointing it at the alien's head. But before he could fire, Dr. Lyra stepped in front of him, holding up the memory crystal. "Before you shoot," she said, voice steady. "Watch this." She activated the device again. This time it showed something new. The alien's memory revealed its final moments with its mate. The moment she handed him the infant before the fire. Her last words, not in words, but in feelings. Love, sorrow, hope, and trust. Then came the beast's escape. Its journey through the fire, how it watched others flee, choosing not to harm even those who shot at it. Every step it took was to save its child. Not for war, not for revenge, only for love. The commander's hand lowered, his eyes unable to meet the aliens. The other soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Some looked down, ashamed. One whispered, "We were wrong." Jack stepped forward, placing a hand on the beast's shoulder. "It's a father," he said softly. "Just like any of us would be. Doctor," Lyra added, "if we kill this creature, we don't just lose a life. We lose our soul." The commander turned and walked out without a word. The soldiers followed, leaving the room in silence. Only Jack, Lyra, the baby, and the beast remained. Jack helped the alien beast lie back down. Its eyes met his, and for the first time, Jack saw no fear, only trust. "You're safe now," Jack whispered. "No one will hurt you again." Outside, the winds of Virene howled, but inside the medbay, something stronger was rising. Not fear, not hate, but understanding. And for the first time, the beast closed its eyes, not from pain, but from peace. The colony was on edge. News spread quickly that a soldier had defended an alien beast. Some called Jack a traitor. Others called him a hero. But no one could ignore what had happened inside the medbay. Something had changed, a line had been crossed. Jack stood outside the med unit, watching the sky turn darker. Smoke still floated above Sector 9, but it wasn't fire that worried him now. It was command. He had overheard whispers, new orders were coming, and this time, they weren't going to show mercy. Inside, the alien beast lay still, its body weak, but its arms still curled protectively around its infant. Dr. Lyra checked its vitals, her hands trembling. "We need to move them," she said. "They're not safe here anymore." Jack nodded, already thinking of options. He opened a storage panel and pulled out a hover stretcher and thermal blankets. "We'll take them through the eastern tunnels," he said. "They're abandoned and unguarded." "But what about the patrols?" she asked. Jack looked her in the eyes. "Leave that to me." Time was running out. The moment the sun dipped behind the dark hills, alarms rang through the colony again. Red lights flashed, lockdown in 20 minutes. Jack pushed the stretcher into the corridor as doctor. Lyra carried the infant wrapped in soft cloth. The alien beast groaned softly, still conscious. But fading, Jack whispered, "Just hold on. We're getting you out of here." The tunnels were cold and empty. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the low hum of emergency lights. Jack led the way, his weapon ready. "Doctor." Lyra followed close, pushing the stretcher gently. Halfway through the passage, the ground shook. A voice came over the hidden intercom. "This is Commander Reed. Sector 9 tunnel breach detected. Seal all exits immediately." Jack cursed under his breath. "They know," he said. Dr. Lyra's hands tightened on the infant. "We're not going back." Ahead was the final hatch, the last exit before the wilderness outside the colony. But as they reached it, the door locked with a sharp hiss. Jack slammed the panel with his fist. "They've sealed us in." He looked around quickly, then saw a side door, maintenance-level access. It led upward toward the tower bridge. "This way," he said, helping Doctor Lyra lift the beast from the stretcher. Together they climbed into the upper levels, their bodies tired but their will unbroken. Suddenly, voices echoed through the metal walls. "Search Team Alpha. Target is near the upper-level bridge." They were surrounded. Jack turned to Dr. Lyra. "Take the child, keep moving. I'll lead them away." "No," she whispered. "We do this together." Jack shook his head. "If we all stay, none of us make it." The alien beast stirred again, its eyes fluttering open. It looked at Jack, then at the baby. Slowly, painfully. It stood on shaky legs, Jack whispered. "You can barely walk." But the beast reached out and handed the child back to Dr. Lyra, then placed one clawed hand on Jack's shoulder. There was no sound. But the message was clear, it would fight. Footsteps approached fast. Dr. Lyra took the child and slipped through the narrow pipe ahead. Crawling toward the exit, Jack and the alien beast stood back to back, shadows creeping around them. The soldiers arrived with bright lights and weapons drawn. "Stand down!" one of them shouted. Jack didn't move, the beast growled, a sound low. Broken but full of strength, then it charged. Not toward the soldiers, but the wall beside them. With one final roar, it smashed through the structure, causing debris to fall and alarms to scream. Smoke and sparks flew in every direction. Soldiers panicked, firing wildly. Jack used the chaos to run, diving into the same tunnel Dr. Lyra had taken. Behind him, he heard the beast's final roar, louder than anything he'd ever heard. Then silence. He crawled fast, heart pounding. At the end of the pipe, he saw light. Dr. Lyra stood waiting, the baby safe in her arms. She looked behind him. "Where is he?" Jack didn't answer. He simply looked back at the smoke rising from the tower. The alien beast had made its choice. It didn't run, it didn't hide. It gave itself so the others could live outside. The wind howled over the rocky plains of Virene. Jack and Dr. Lyra stepped out into the wild, the colony lights fading behind them. They walked in silence, carrying the child. They had lost something, but they had saved something too, and the baby, silent and watching, held onto a locket made of glowing metal. The last piece of its father, a memory, a promise. 2 days had passed since Jack and Dr. Lyra escaped the colony. They found shelter in the ruins of an old observatory hidden in the rocky plains. It had no power, no communication, and no comfort, but it was safe. And right now, that was all they needed. Jack sat at the edge of the broken platform, staring at the stars. The alien baby slept peacefully beside him, wrapped in soft cloth, its small chest rising and falling. Dr. Lyra was nearby, working on a portable transmitter she had rebuilt using scrap parts. She hadn't said much since the tower. Neither had Jack. Both carried the silence of loss. But tonight things were going to change. The transmitter blinked green and Dr. Lyra finally spoke. "It's ready," she said softly. "I've finished decoding the crystal." Jack stood, brushing dust off his knees. "Are you sure you want to do this?" She nodded. "They need to know the truth, even if they try to ignore it." Jack placed the memory crystal into the device and a soft blue light glowed. Then he activated the channel, one that reached every open broadcast in the colony. From command towers to civilian radios, the message began to play. "This is Dr. Lyra speaking." Her voice echoed across every speaker. "I was part of the research team in Sector 9, and I want to tell you what really happened." Images filled the screens across the colony, of the alien beast holding its child, of it shielding Jack and Lyra from flames, of it choosing to sacrifice itself instead of fighting back. "They told you it was a monster," her voice said, "but they lied. It was a father, a protector, a creature that knew love, pain, and loyalty." People across the colony stopped what they were doing. Miners looked up from their drills. Nurses paused in mid-treatment. Even the commander sat frozen in his chair as the footage played. The image of the beast kneeling before its child broke something in everyone who watched. Dr. Lyra continued. "We treated them like enemies before we ever gave them a chance, but this one, he gave everything to protect a child, his child, and even us." Jack stepped in front of the camera, his face tired but strong. "I'm not speaking as a soldier," he said. "I'm speaking as a man who saw something that changed me forever. This creature didn't need our weapons, our science, or our walls. It needed compassion." Back in the colony, people began to talk. Some argued, some cried, but no one could deny what they had seen. Jack ended the message with one final sentence. "If this child grows up to trust us, to love us, then we have a second chance. Don't waste it." The screen faded. The message ended and the silence was louder than before. That night, the colony didn't send soldiers. They sent a drone, a peaceful one, with a message of their own. It hovered near the observatory, blinking a soft white light. A voice came through the speaker. "This is Officer Hale. I saw the footage. I lost my son in the fire, but I don't want another child to suffer. We're not here to take the child," he said. "We're here to help raise it." Jack looked at Dr. Lyra, who wiped a tear from her cheek. She nodded slowly, and Jack responded into the mic. "Then let's do it together." Over the next few days, people from the colony started arriving quietly. Engineers helped repair the observatory, turning it into a home. Doctors brought supplies for the baby, and others came just to say sorry. One old man brought a small necklace made of smooth black stone. He said it was a symbol of peace from his ancestors. He placed it gently near the alien infant's bed. Time passed, and seasons changed on Virene. The baby grew stronger, crawling, then walking. Its laughter echoed in the halls where only silence once lived. Jack trained it in human ways. How to read, how to speak. Dr. Lyra taught it science, kindness, and truth. But the child still had its father's eyes, sharp, glowing green. And sometimes when the wind howled across the plains, it would look toward the mountains and hum a sound only its species knew. Years later, a statue was placed near the ruins of Sector 9. It showed the alien beast, standing tall with arms around a child. On the stone beneath it, simple words were carved. He was not a monster, he was a father. The colony changed after that, not overnight, but slowly. Fences became bridges, fear became curiosity, and the word alien stopped meaning enemy. Jack often sat outside the observatory, watching the stars again. The child, now older, would sit beside him and ask questions. "Do you think he watches us from up there?" the child would ask. Jack would smile and say, "I think he watches from inside you." And somewhere in that quiet sky, beyond the clouds and broken moons, a part of the beast still lived. Not in power or fear, but in the love he gave. A love the humans would never forget.